Hi, I'm Tom at Ledgemere. Right there, that window is the one that blew out, and I showed it to you in the barn last time. Today we're gonna go start working on it and see how long it takes us to get it repaired so we can get that back in. So 5 or 6 years ago, I'd come down all 7 of these windows, redid all the casings, made them so they slide open and close like they're supposed to. They're all pocket windows that go into the side here. But I redid the casing all the way around. All of them. Now some of them closed, some of them open. Or this one here's stuck. Some open, some don't. The frost, not really your friend in New England, unfortunately. So sometimes they open, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you gotta pry it a little bit, but you don't want to pull on it because then you end up pulling these off. But this is the same kind of window I got down there that we're gonna be working on today. Remember the last video, we were gonna work on this window right here. You can see it's all busted up. This is damage we got from the wind. So I've got the heel of it there. I've got a slat here. And then I've got one pane that was salvageable. And then I've got another sheet of plexiglass right here. So the first thing I do is change that blade out. And I've got the saw unplugged because I don't want to be one-handed. So I'm going to go ahead and change this blade first. So a couple things we need. These are the saw wrenches here. Screwdriver. Take this fence off. There's one screw that holds this. So that has to come out. It's kind of an odd shaped nut. And a lot of times you got to spin the blade until it falls into where it's supposed to. Yeah. Once it snaps on, you just loosen it up like that. And be careful you don't cut your arm off. Take this nut. There's a washer, you don't want to lose that down. There's a box under here full of sawdust, so you don't want to lose parts down in there. Cats use it for a toilet, so I don't want to put my hands in it. Yeah, 10-inch 60-tooth blade. You don't want to be cutting plexi with that. So you need to pay attention to how that other blade was on. If you put the new blade on wrong, it's going to launch that board right into the back wall. So you see how the teeth are angled this way, and with the other blade, the ink was on this side. But don't let that fool you, because you want those teeth to head back towards you, because this is the way the saw is going to go, like this. And if you put it on backwards, it's going to, that board's going to be out of here. So be real careful about that. And then put the washer on. And then this one in here. Let's see. Yeah, so once that grabs, you just squeeze them together. That tightens the nut down. And this right here's got a little tab in it, so we got to put that under. That sets down in there, and then put this on. When you cut, I'll get this out of here. Slide that fence over a little bit more. You want that saw blade to just barely come over the top. You don't want to be coming up too much. Just like that, and then line your fence up again. You cut any kind of composite, stuff that's made out of glue, plexiglass, anything made out of PVC. Make sure you do it in a really well ventilated area, because it's going to smell real bad. They got these newfangled saws that it'll stop as soon as it touches your finger. And I don't know how it knows the difference between your finger and something else, but they do. and it's real expensive. There's a cartridge that goes in there, and it costs a lot of money once you activate it, but I guess it's cheaper than getting a new finger. So that's 29.5. I need it to be 18. So I'm not going to get 2 out of that. I have to cut another one. Back when I was a kid, my father was the custodian of the elementary school in town, and back in those days I could work, I think I was 6 years old when I started helping him after school sweeping, and it was an old school that had wooden floors, so we'd strip the floors during vacations, we'd paint, mow the lawns, snow blow. It was a flat roof building, sometimes you'd have to shovel the roof off. But yeah, right up until I was in high school, I went to junior high. I helped my father every day after school, and I think he paid me $5 a week was what I got to start when I was 6. Most time I did it for nothing. But can you imagine doing that now? Your father take you to work and have you out there puttying windows and painting, 8-10 years old, moving pianos. But we liked it and we learned a lot. But one of the things we did was we had to putty windows because kids sometimes would bust windows. They'd either put a ball through one of the windows, or they're on vacation or on a weekend or something, somebody would go chuck a rock out through the window, and then Dad would have to go fix them, and so I helped him fix windows. And he used to have a glass cutter. Usually he'd cut the glass because he didn't want me to get cut on it, but he'd cut the glass, and then I'd set them in and put the points in it and putty them and then paint them back up, and we'd go put the window back in. So yeah, towards the last of it, they started using plexiglass, and so plexiglass, when it's new, you can see through it real well, but after a while, I don't know what happens to it exactly, but it gets cloudy, and then it gets brittle. Imagine the sun must oxidize it or something, but anyway. So first thing you got to do before you even get started, you need a good putty knife. And this one here is the one that was falling out, but you got to clean this all off here. So you got a good place to start. And this window casing's not the window casing, but the frame, or whatever you want to call it. It's not busted. Careful with this part right here, don't slice your hand open. But we got to get all that crud out. So we can start over. It's another thing, get yourself a good putty knife. Like I said, I was saying in one of the other videos I made, buy your tools once, buy good ones if you can. Like I said, some stuff you can get away with. It's cheap, but it's worth it. Buy some good stuff. It used to be you could go to Sears in the mall and get good craftsman tools, and I don't know what. I didn't really follow along with their whole down spiral. I guess they got involved with like credit cards and real estate and some other stuff. Forgot to pay attention to what they were supposed to do, and that's sell products. So now their tools, yeah, they're not your father's craftsman, I can tell you that. This piece here. Clean that off. So glass is going to go on this side right here. Usually with these old wood, I use it's in a brush-on can of Rust-Oleum, because it's oil, and it really soaks into the wood. Latex, it kind of sits on the top and it peels off, but you get good oil paint, like a Rust-Oleum. The paint you put on metal, well, it's oil and it's a thick paint and it goes in pretty good. That'll keep these alive for a few more years. So put that in there. That's good and glued. And this piece is going to go this way. Now we just make sure we get the right edges pointing out. So this is the part right here, it's square beveled, and this is, you know, like a 45 with kind of a mitered edge on it. So we want this edge down, and we'll just tuck this all back in. So just give it a little taparoo. Just tap it in.
But you're still in good shape. All you got to do is just tap it in. Just tap it in now.
Just tap it in.
Tap it in. Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, taparoo.
So I have this old 2x3. I'm gonna rip it down and put a thin strip right along the top on both sides. So this little piece of junky 2x3, I'll strip it, or get a couple little strips, hook one on each side, and get this cleaned up, and we'll go from there. I know you're probably looking at this going, what the heck is that guy doing? All I did was just take the sander, and I just want to get like a layer of crud off the top. And you can see there's a bad spot here where it broke there also. But I'm going to put these on down here. And then I'll put the panes in, and we'll put caulking on it. And I think it'll come out okay. If I was working on my house, it'd be a little bit different. If you want to see a little bit better finished carpentry, go back to my video where everything I knew I learned from Bob Vila, and you'll see where I worked on the room above the woodshed there. And have some little 1-inch sheetrock screws I'll put in. I thought about using brads, but the problem with brads is that there's no rings on them, so they're not going to bite very well. And I don't want to get close to the edge because you can see it's going to split a little bit anyway, but that'll be filled in with paint. And I only want just enough screws here really to hold it. The glue I use is interior exterior, but I never trust just glue on anything. These little cans of Rust-Oleum, like I said, they're oil paint and they'll soak in. Anyway. When you take covers off, I always twist it, and if you pry it, you'll end up denting the cover, but if you just turn it, you don't. And with the big cans of paint, if I'm painting a house, I'll take a 16 penny nail with a hammer and punch a bunch of holes in it, and then all the paint that you're doing this with will go back inside. I'll let that dry and I'll come back. And I think it looks pretty good. I'll do the other side. I'll set the glass in, and we'll glaze around the edges. We'll fix these little cracks that I got, and then we'll put it up. I think it came out pretty well. When I was a little kid, my mother would fix a lot of windows in the house, and while I was at school, she would go to people's houses and wallpaper and paint and glaze windows, fix windows, reupholster furniture, and then she had a catering business for a while too. But when I was growing up, we didn't have all kinds of money, and we basically had to figure out how to make do with what we had. And some of that's kind of lost on me. I had a good job for a lot of years until I retired. You don't really realize how fortunate a lot of us are with all the things that we've got, we take for granted. And I kind of, doing stuff like this reminds me of being a little kid when we didn't have a whole lot. And I don't do it all the time, so I don't really do it as good as my mother would have done. My brother, who was a carpenter, he did a lot of stuff like that all the time too. People were always hiring him to do little fix-it jobs, especially after he was diagnosed with cancer the last few years. He just did a lot of little things like that for people. So this is the window here, and this room right here was where I used to milk the cow. And I'm just gonna, next year, I'm not going to have the sheep down at the other end of the barn. I'm going to have them down here because there's a cement floor and the manure pile's right here. Manure pile's right there, so it'll be a lot easier to clean out. I got to clean up this yard. This is all the hay they strewed all over the place over the winter. Get that hay down there out of my road. Then I got to make a lane over here on the right behind the manure. I'm going to make a lane down through there and blast a hole through the stone wall so that the animals aren't in this area all the time. It makes it kind of difficult to get around the back of the barn when you got animals right here trying to get out. Right there's the pump house. Down back, down there, it used to be a well, and this right here had a hit and miss engine in it. And so that little pump house, they'd pump the water up to a 1,000-gallon tank up in the house and then hand pump it up into the kitchen. But now I keep my fence chargers in there, so there's power in it, and it's kind of a midway point between the barn and the sugar house down there. So I've got some wires coming in, I got some outlets, and I mostly store my heated buckets and stuff in there. But I got to fix that window on the front. I used to brood chicks in there, and it was okay till about June, and then it just got too hot because the sun beat right down on them and it wasn't enough ventilation. So now it's just kind of a midway point where I put stuff and have the electric fence charger and stuff in there. Winter is just sure is reluctant to give up his grip on the cold for us this year. We had a lot of rain, and then we had some sleet, more freezing rain. I just can't go out on the fields. I want to go out there and start fixing fences, but I'm not driving on that. Even around the edges, I don't want to screw it up. I've got too much time and money, and I've got a lot invested in my fields, and I don't want to go trash them. So this here's the window for the pump house. You can see this one's kind of serious disrepair. It was the same idea as the one here in the barn. I had hinges on it, and I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if just the weather got to it or what, but what I did is I took my table saw and I took my router. If you can see that board right there. This is out of pressure treated. I took a piece of pressure treated lumber and see the taper on it. So I took my router and you can see that there. So I got the edges the way they're supposed to be on there. And what I got to do is, that's going to go on this side like that. So when I look at these, you see this is tongue here, and then the groove comes around like this. So I've got to do that with this side. I got to cut these out, make that fit. And this is kind of stove up here, so I got to either repair it or build another one. And then I got a real mess here, 'cause these are all stove up. There's not much left of these. So I got to figure out how to make some more of them, because they're no good. They're all rotted out. And I tried to find another window kicking around, or sometimes you go to these places and they have like old windows and stuff, and it's an odd shape, and I haven't been able to find one. But I got enough of this piece here that used to go here to copy onto this one. So I just gotta probably put it back to back like this, and then trace this out and put it in the bandsaw probably, and cut that out like that. I could probably do it in the table saw, but we'll see. The bandsaw, you got to be real careful because you'll get waves in it. And table saw, you got to be careful too because you'll cut too much. So I'll probably be on that. Not much I can do out here till this dries. I don't want to touch it or move it. So we'll leave that alone, and then the next episode we'll get back to it. So hopefully this was mildly entertaining for you, and we'll get back to it next time and see if we can finish up the window we were working on and then start on the other one for the pump house. So take care, and we'll talk to you later.